Hey people, what's going on? It's Jameel, and what I want to talk about is how you're going to beat the program within an hour. Now, 1 hour is all you need. All you need is that 1 hour. And when I talk to you, get out a pen or pencil, piece of paper, and take down notes. And listen, this is happening all over the world. South Africa, Europe, Mexico, Brazil. I know it's happening in Asia because I've heard stories about it. And the gang stalking program is really tripped out. I was talking to a guy, this is like the other night, and he was telling me a scenario where it was a female, and she didn't know if she was being gang stalked, but she came back home, and her whole house, all her furniture had been changed. The chairs were like stacked up in rows and stuff like that. I mean, this is like polar guy stuff. I mean, the gang stalking program gets deep. And so when I lay down this hour with you, and we go over the gang stalking program, you're going to have everything you need to know. Now, my methods are concrete. I approach the gang stalkers in real life, talk to them. I would walk for hours and hours and hours all the way from where I live in Norton Shores, Michigan, to Grand Haven, Michigan, then to Muskegon Heights, Michigan. So I went back and forth from really good neighborhoods to the hood, and I just associated with everybody I could. People I don't even know, people I've never seen before. I didn't know if they were gang stalkers or not. I would just approach them, talk to them, tell them about how I beat gang stalking. The only person who ever did it, JAMEEL RAWLS, did it and got away with it. And I would just say something. I just say I'm famous. And they say, "What do you mean you're famous?" I say, "Yeah, I'm famous, man. I did a bunch of interviews in Hollywood after years of conspiracy research. Went out there, got into a situation where I was set up to be killed, beat that 110% no matter what." And when I said that to them, they were saying, "What do you mean?" I said I got into the business of the secret societies and the World Fraternal Orders. And at that point, people start to listen to you, and then real people know real stuff. So there's a lot of people who've been in situations similar to that, not like that, but they've been in like that situation, so they know what I'm talking about. And after I beat that, then I explained to them, I came back to Michigan, kept running my mouth, talking about what happened, talking about this, and now the people who it happened to in the secret societies, they're like, "Damn, this guy, he met us in person, he knows all stuff about us." Then he found out, what happened, that we set him up to kill him and stuff, and it was so serious, it had to get called off. Everything was already in place. I walked up to one of the guys who was running the show. This is in my hotel lobby, and I walked up to him, and this is right off the Walk of Fame. And he looks at me, and he does something, and he actually calls it off. So it's a miracle I'm even here right now. So that being said, then I come back to Michigan. Like I said, keep running my mouth. Got put in the gang stalking program, and now I beat gang stalking. And I was saying I was the only person in the world that beat it. Now I'm like the first person in the world that beat it because there's a couple other people who have been grinding it through with them, and they beat it. There was a woman who's been going through it for over 30 years, and she was like, "Your story is the most inspirational story I ever heard." And I told her, I said, first of all, gang stalking can't break me. I'm not in that paranoia game. After going up against the secret societies, one of the secret societies put presidents in the White House more than once. One of the secret societies, for a fact, runs the motion picture industry. There's a few, there's a few others, and so what I've learned to do is just approach gang stalking like another challenge. When I was doing my conspiracy research, I did it on the Manson family, Jim Jones, and the People's Temple. A lot of weird other stuff that had been going on back at that time that I really don't like to talk about anymore. But I got it. You can go check out my research if you want to, all my interviews and videos I made over the last couple of years. But what I did is I basically took out the personal business of the secret societies, and I put it all on the table, and I was picking through it. And they were just like, "Man, this guy, we can't have him out talking to thousands of people about this." And so, that's what eventually got me to gang stalking. Beat the life-death thing, got into gang stalking, and then I beat gang stalking. And then the thing about it is I didn't know I was going to beat it. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was just going through it, and the funny thing is it was a female. It was a female that she's so amazing. She lives near me. And I had said a lot of things on the internet about her. Not about, about her. I was angry about a lot of stuff. I had said a lot of stuff on the internet, like about the family and stuff like that. But now I feel so, now I love her family now, honestly. But, so, I go outside, and this is like back in the wintertime. And then, I didn't see, okay, when I was hiding inside my mother's house for a month. And I was scared to come out. And I didn't know, I thought I was going to be killed. I didn't know I was being gang stalked. I thought this was one more life-death thing. Like, if I go outside, I'm going to be killed. I keep going to the window. I keep seeing cars and cars and cars and cars. One of the houses were being built. There was construction company cars out there. I'm thinking they're all in on it. There's fucking helicopters and stuff. I'm like, my God, what did I get myself into? And so, then I thought about the girl. I thought about the girl that she's been living down the street from me. She's lived near me, my whole life. And so, beautiful, beautiful, nice, cute cheeks and stuff like that. Nice eyes, hair, and everything. Very beautiful. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, what am I gonna like? How would she perceive me if she knew I was afraid of death? Right? I mean, that's what comes to your mind, like things like that. I'm like, damn, she saw me afraid to die. And so I thought that to myself, and I said, you know what? Okay. So I go out. So I actually go out and I face the death, and I didn't die. And I'm just like, that really tripped me out because I'm like, what's going on, right? And so I put two and two together. I said, this is some sort of psychological thing. Then I realized, okay, I go back to the internet. I start looking up similar stuff. I'm like, I'm in gang stalk, and so I go through the winter time. I'm in the winter time, and like I said, I go outside, and I remember one time I saw the same girl out there, and then she looked at me. She looked at me, and then when she looked at me, I just remembered all the horrible stuff I had been saying on the internet. And I just remembered my whole attitude in general, and I was just like, man. And so that was like what really had pushed me to beat gang stalking. What really got me motivated and going. I went through this thing where I had like a nervous. I don't know. Maybe it wasn't a nervous breakdown. I think it was. I had like a nervous breakdown on my mother's driveway. And like I went to the store and I got some beer and stuff, and I was out there and I was yelling, and I was drinking. I was out there drunk. I was out there drunk as a dog, trying to hit like the sea walk and stuff like that. Out there drunk, and one of my neighbors, the homie, I call him the homie. He has his daughter, I think, has some girls come over, and they get out of the car and they go. I'm like yelling at them and stuff. Like I'm just like, man, I'm out here tripping. So I end up beating the program that way. Like, I end up beating the program, and I go through months and months and months and months and months and months of just like people following me everywhere. I mean, it was just crazy, man. It was just a crazy experience. But in essence, it made me who I am. Like without this experience, I never would have become who I am now. Like I'm a much better person, and so that's when I say gang stalking will help you 110%. I've had everything. I have my food drugged. I've had people approach me on the street. Like I'm not afraid of anybody, so it doesn't matter to me. But I've had people approach, like groups of people approach me on the street, stuff like that, and I just walk up to them. I just let them know my name is JAMEEL RAWLS. This happened to me. This happened to me. This happened to me, and they're just like. Hold on a second. Hey, what's up, man?
Hey, what's up, bro? Would you mind, screwed up, we're trying to fix it. Would you mind explaining what, gang stalking is and, like, electronic harassment? I can, like, put you on speakerphone?
Yeah, put me on speaker.
Just for the fuck of it?
Yeah.
That'd be cool, man. Like, I mean, it'll just take 2 seconds. My mom's kind of interested, and then I'm kind of, just self-explanatory. Like, I mean, from the FBI to everything,
Right. Okay.
Do you mind if I do that?
No, I don't mind. Go ahead.
Alright, 1 second, bro. Yeah, are you there?
Yeah.
Can you hear me, Jamel?
Yeah, I can hear you. You ready?
1 sec. Speaker. Where I go?
Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
So we're just trying to get on speaker. Hold on.
Okay.
I don't know what I did.
I have a feeling, but
Okay.
just be right here. Maybe this. Here. Are you there at all?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, we're trying to get on speakerphone. I'm looking for the button to new phone.
Yeah.
Okay, she's willing to talk. She's interested, about it kind of, and it's been happening. So.
Okay.
Is that okay with you?
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, one second.
Hi.
Hi, hello.
Hi.
Okay, so basically, I've been going through gang stalking for a year now, and what it is organized intimidation. It's not set up to physically hurt the person, but it's set up to psychologically batter the person. And a lot of people become targeted and they don't know why they're targeted. But in my case, I did a bunch of interviews on the internet involving government cover-ups, and the interviews had reached thousands of people. And I went out to Hollywood to meet another researcher, and I got set up to be killed. And miraculously, I slipped out of it, and then I came back to Michigan, and I started running my mouth about it, and then I got put in gang stalking because of that, because I was running my mouth about it. And what they do is they use a lot of different methods. They'll follow you. They'll have people follow you in person. They'll have cars follow you. They'll blink their headlights at you, and it's a constant thing. They listen to all your phone calls. And it can be happening to you 24/7, and the people around you won't even know it's happening. It's sophisticated. It's extremely sophisticated. And with Steve, they've been targeting him with electronic weapons. And
how is that?
Well, okay, back in the 1970s, there was a congressional hearing where the Central Intelligence Agency admitted that they had electronic weapons, to make people hear voices. That were coming, they could actually make people hear voices. They could talk to people through it. They could influence people to do things they normally wouldn't do. They could put pressure on their skull. And this is, Steve can show you this on YouTube. This was the actual congressional hearing where the Central Intelligence Agency admitted they had this stuff. This was in the 1970s. And in today's world, it must be extremely easy for, they make this stuff so small now. I mean, it could probably be something as small they can carry around in their pocket and do it. And there's a lot of people going through it. I've never heard any voices, but I've been targeted with electronic weapons. And he's meant to look crazy. Steve's situation is he's going to the doctors, and they won't acknowledge anything about this, and they're giving him all these drugs. Then he's going to the therapist, and they're telling him that it doesn't exist. But, and he's meant to look crazy. He's meant to look like a common, one of those loose cannon type of cases. And even a guy named Ted Gunderson, he was the former head of the Los Angeles FBI for 20 years. He was on YouTube saying he had been gang stalked. After he left the FBI, he started exposing government corruption, and he got gang stalked. It can happen to anybody. And they want.
So why would they pick someone random like Steven?
I see. Steven has a lot of videos on YouTube about indigo, what they call indigo children, and this involves like shamanic type of healing and things like that. And from what I know of Steve, he spent a lot of time skateboarding, and he was out talking to people, and he was very involved, in that form. He told me he went around and met a lot of people during his years he was skateboarding, and I think these people had noticed Steve. They took notice of Steve somehow, and it's sort of, maybe it could have been sort of like an experiment. They wanted to see if they could close him off from society and shut him down. Maybe they saw he had some ability with, he's into all this spiritual stuff, and then he's skateboarding, and so maybe they just said, let's see what we can do. Can we shut somebody down like that? And I mean, I know it sounds really far out, but if you go on YouTube, it's happening to people in South Africa, it's happening to people in Europe, and a lot of people just don't know. There's a lot of people who don't know why it's happening to them.
Yeah.
So I really can't come up with a definite answer why it's happening to Steve, but I do believe him. I do believe him because I've talked to people. I'm all over the internet telling people, I beat it. And I've had people emailing me and calling me, and they're saying the same stuff Steve's saying.
Mm-hmm. So what did you do to beat it?
I started confronting the gang stalkers. Like, when Steve goes out in public, they mimic him, and like, they try to intimidate him and mimic him. And I started confronting those people and telling them my name. I say, my name is JAMEEL RAWLS. I'm the only person in the world that beat gang stalking. I did a bunch of interviews in Hollywood. you know, and I just tell them my story, and I give them a flyer with my phone number on it, and I confronted the gang stalkers so much, it's to the point now it doesn't even bother me. Like if I see them out in public and they're doing it, it doesn't even bother me anymore. Like
So how did you know which ones were them?
you know, you can look at them and tell. They'll have a certain look to them. A lot of times they'll have sunglasses on. You can catch them following you. It's just the way they act. It's
Okay.
you know, it's like you know how you're driving through LA and you see gang members and you know they're gang members.
Yeah.
I mean, they don't have to be wearing a bandana. You can just tell by looking at them. Like that's a gangbanger,
Yeah.
right? It's the same thing. You just know when you're being gang stalked. It's almost spiritual. You're so used to it, you can just pick up on it. But there is sometimes you can get so paranoid that you'll think people are doing it that aren't doing it, and so that happens too.
Yeah.
Sometimes it won't be a gang stalker, but you're so used to it you think it is.
Yeah.
But like with Steve was saying you guys were working on the house, and there were some people who had came over, and they were like moving furniture, and they were working in the house, and they were trying to like basically gang stalk Steve. Steve,
Okay. Well, we had movers.
Right. See, people like that will come into your home and they'll be contracted by the program and they don't even know what gang stalking is. The movers won't know what gang stalking is. Somebody will just approach them and offer them a percentage of money to do that activity and nobody else will know about it. But Steve will know what's going on, but no one else will know about it and they'll think Steve is, everybody will think Steve is crazy. And all they got to do is say little stuff. Say and do little stuff. For like $100 or something, and they're not going to tell anybody. They just got some money.
Yeah.
And so one of the biggest things to me is I don't know how they're able to convince so many people to be able to gang stalk people, and it's really not. A lot of people don't know about it. Like the neighborhood I live in, all my neighbors are pretty much in on it, and the police know. The police are in on it. I mean, it's like a neighborhood watch thing. It's like a watch list.
Yeah.
And the neighbors don't know why I'm on. Well, they know about me because I'm on YouTube, but for the average person, nobody will know why. They'll just say, "Here, we'll give you a percentage of money every week. All you got to do is watch this guy." And then they say, "Do little things like when he goes outside, go outside and talk on the phone and watch him." And that's what's happening to Steve. And everybody's going to think he's crazy. And and I mean that's what they want. And so with the psychiatric people like the doctors and stuff, I think they know exactly what's going on. And I think they're trying to get him on those drugs because he's not crazy. There's nothing wrong with him.
Yeah.
I think they're trying to dope him up on those drugs and try to get him in one of them hospitals somewhere.
Yeah.
And since I've been talking to him, he got a lot better. He started going outside. He cut back on his medication by half, and he was scared. He was in fear. And I told him, I said, "Man, don't be afraid. Just keep confronting these people." And my own mother, she thought I was crazy. She didn't believe me. She thought I was making all this stuff up, and I had lost my mind. And then they actually paid my own. No, I'm 31 years old, and I live at my mother's house, and I currently don't have a job. But they actually paid my mother a couple times to come home with the headlights. And I look at it like, I kind of look at it like I help pay the bills because I don't have a job. And so what can I really can't say anything,
Yeah.
But my own mother did it to me twice. But the good thing is now she knows I'm not crazy though.
Yeah. Huh.
Yeah.
All right, Jamil. Well, thank you for your time. Thank you for the information. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and there's a lot more people out there. I did an interview with a human rights group recently called PACT International, PACT International. I did the interviews on YouTube, and if Steve shows it to you, you'll see there's people who call in, and I answer questions for them during the interview, and I explain to them my situation, and they talk about it, and I explain I've had my food drugged at restaurants before, and I explain that, and so just ask Steve to pull up, the interview, and you'll see, I talked to a human rights group about it, and I didn't contact them. They contacted me because they saw my YouTube videos.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you again.
Yeah.
I'll put Stephen back on the phone.
Okay, you have a nice day, man.
You too.
Hey, what's up, good?
Yeah.
Cool.
Your mother sounds like she knows there's something wrong.
Yeah, no, she does.
She knows you're not tripping.
Yeah. Well, how do you figure? I mean, I'm outside now. Nobody's out here. You know.
I can tell by her voice.
You can tell by her voice. Yeah.
She knows you're not hallucinating.
What did you explain to her exactly, bro? Like, it's all cool. Like, don't mind.
I just explained to her that you were targeted, and there's not a real reason that you know of or that I know of why you got targeted, but the same things that are happening to you have been happening to a lot of people. I told her about the Central Intelligence Agency congressional hearings from the 70s where they admitted that technology was real, where people could hear voices they haven't heard before in their mind. And then I told her about the human rights interview that I did where people called in, I answered questions. And, you know, if she watches that interview, she'll see there's other people out there that's happening to that are hearing the voices. I told her that I think the doctors are in on it, and they're trying to make you look like there's something wrong with you, that you're crazy, and they're trying to put you away in a hospital somewhere. And, you know, I just told her, you know, I just explained to her how I felt. And then I told her my story about the interviews I did and how I had been set up to be killed. And I got out of, you know, I slipped out of that miraculously by the, you know, act of God. And now I'm helping other people. But I told her a lot of people email me and call me about gang stalking, and the same things that they're saying are happening to them are the same things you're saying are happening to you. And these are people you've never met before, so there's no way you could be making it up.
Yeah, no, that's good, dude. Like, I mean, she has no idea, and the internet to her, she can barely work a computer. She's a waitress, right? And she can barely work a computer as it is. So online stuff to her is almost like, it's almost like crazy for her, unless like it's typed in for her. You know what I mean?
Right. Well, you should show her, man. Show her that human rights interview. And you know, the part, you don't have, you know, just show her the parts where, you know, if you can get around a computer, show her the parts where people call in and I answer questions, and she'll see, man, this isn't like some Star Trek stuff. This stuff's real.
Yeah, it's not exactly. And that's the way, that's how my brother and Brian describe it in Star Trek. The Star Trek is Disneyland shit, you know?
Uh-huh.
And it's like, what the fuck? It's like, since you have a bachelor's degree, you don't want to even, you know, consider it, you know, like, or acknowledge, you know, it, you know, I mean, you did history and all. I know it didn't, I guess it didn't really go well for you. I don't know.
Right. Well, hey, man.
Yeah.
Hey, man, let me call you back. I got to do some stuff around the house.
Okay.
And then let me call you back in like a couple hours.
Yeah, for sure, man. Let's talk.
All right, bro.
All right, bro. Thanks.
All right. Yeah.
Bye.
All right, so that's an example of the type of stuff I have to grind through. I have people who call me who need assistance. I have to sometimes explain to family members what's going on. There's a whole host of things I do, and like for $50 an hour, I'll get you through it no matter what. Now you see this gentleman, he called me back with his mother, and I had to explain to her, like, if you call me back, I'm not going to be like, give me another $50. I'm just going to talk to you regularly. But what I'm saying is for $50, you'll beat it within an hour. You'll know everything you need to know, and you'll be able to get through it, and you'll be able to keep getting through it and keep the ball rolling. And so that's pretty much, you know, that's pretty much in a nutshell. I mean, that was perfect timing for him to call like that, so I could show people that's how effective it is, you know. And he went from a situation where he was on multiple drugs, and they were trying to convince him he was crazy, and he was scared to leave the house. Now he's active. I mean, he's confronting gang stalkers. Like, he'll confront gang stalkers and tell them not to gang stalk him. And so he's just made amazing progress. But, you know, that's what it is. All right.